This is the construct. It's our loading program. We can load anything from clothing to equipment, weapons, training simulations, anything we need.
Right now, we're inside a computer program?
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image. It is the mental projection of your digital self.
This isn't real.
What is real?
Welcome to the desert of the real.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Juan Podcast. I'm your host Juan. On this episode we have Luke Williamson with us again. We're asking some questions that we probably won't get the answer to. Very big questions. What happens after we die? What if there's nothing after all of this? And again, every time I talk to Luke, it's always a 3 to 4 hour conversation that I have to break up into 2 episodes because it's just so much information. We go all over the place. And again, this episode goes deep. Psychedelics, ancient civilizations, the reptilian overlords, whatever you want to call it. Oh, there always seems to be something going on in the world of negativity and to keep us, the hostility towards one another, always dividing us, divide and conquer, how they say. I hope you enjoy this episode. This is Psychedelics, Ancient Technologies, and Society with Luke Williamson. We've always been meaning to talk about the reactivations that you were talking about.
We keep meaning to talk about a lot of stuff because we still haven't even really talked about like Peru and Bolivia just a little bit. But yeah, reactivations, it's like, it's sort of what people, I guess, this is something that happens with Bufo alvarius, with the toad medicine, is that you can have spontaneous sort of reactions for a little while afterwards, where you're kind of back in that state without having ingested anything.
What?
Yeah, and it's, I've had 3 of them when I haven't actually, been doing anything per se. And one of them was just immobilizing. And I was very happy to be in a place where I could deal with it, like I wasn't on an airplane or something. But I think also I tend to want to believe, at least, that the medicine wouldn't do that to you. The ones I've had has always been, they've always activated when I've been in a relaxed state somewhere.
What type of DMT is that? Is the 5-MeO?
That's 5-MeO, yeah.
And so it has residual effects on you?
It can. And there are things that they're like, I would not smoke pot for like 10 days after doing 5-MeO if I were, if I didn't want a reactivation. That will trigger a reactivation.
And it's like the trip. The reactivation is like the trip.
Can. No, it's no, because 5-MeO for me, I generally do not remain in my body or myself at all. I dissolve. I become everything and nothing, and I have that state of non-duality, of being and being everything and not being anything at once, which is, I think, probably the best thing I've ever felt, to be honest. But this was not shit. Fuck it, I'll tell you this story. I was actually in Thailand, and I was going to bed. It was late at night. I'd come back from the doctor, and I was there to get a checkup after my surgery, and I had this activation in my hotel room where I didn't really know what was going on. I was just laying down to go to bed, and I just started getting sucked into these fractal kind of tunnels when I closed my eyes, and it was really intense. It was like I couldn't quite escape, and then I started feeling a lot of pressure on my forehead, and like a thumb was pressing on my forehead, and my breathing became quite erratic, and my muscles were spasming. Tension release, couldn't get comfortable, didn't really have control, and then the pressure on my forehead got worse and worse, and then this purple cone of light blew out of my forehead and just sort of illuminated half the room. There were other entities in there. There was like some kind of gray haze or smoke that was like a foot deep in my room. I was just completely incapacitated. I was just processing that, because how do you process that? I thought maybe I was going insane. I thought maybe I was having some kind of psychotic break, and I'm like stable in the psychedelic space. I've never had any. I know I can handle my shit, and so it took me a few minutes to just get. I couldn't read my phone, but I was able to get to my music in my phone, and I have like my shaman's Icaros from Peru on my phone, and I was able to play the protection Icaro on a loop on my phone, and until for about an hour and a half, there were some disconcerting things going on, because most of the entities I was seeing were fine, totally benign, and they weren't super interested in me. But there were these other shadow entities at the edge of my room, and they were at the edge of my vision, and if I tried to look at them, they kind of rolled off the eye. It was a really weird thing. Like I could see them, and if I tried to look at them directly and focus on them, it was like water like sliding off of a mirror. I didn't like that, because I've never been in an ayahuasca or a psychedelic state where something has not wanted to be seen by me. I felt uncomfortable with that. I'd rather something like we talked about, how things can look horrible but actually feel good or not feel frightening. And these, like, I wanted to see them. And so I struggled with that for a while. And then once I was able to read my phone, I texted my facilitator, and bless him, he called me immediately from California and talked to me for about an hour. And it was like, yeah, this is a reactive. He's like, your third eye opened, this reactivation, and
what?
You got to process this stuff. And he just helped me not be afraid that I was having some kind of a mental breakdown, because I just didn't know what I was experiencing. And then after about 4 hours, I was sort of okay. And then after about 10 hours, everything, like vision was a little bit blurry, but everything was back to normal. And then I haven't had another one since. But that was so intense. Like the ones I had before that were nothing like that. But that was just so intense, and I was conscious, like when like I wasn't at all in the dream state. So it was kind of disconcerting for a little while, and then afterwards, I just became very interested in how to go further with that state, either through meditation or what process I can do to get back to a point where I can experience perception, because it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't a comfortable experience at all. I just wanted it to end. It's one of those things. A lot of time we see that, there he is, cross-legged. He's got that sort of benign smile of, peace on his face, and he's in that space, and the third eye is open, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wow, obviously I'm not physically ready, because that was very uncomfortable. So, what do I need to do to figure out, if that's possible all the time? And I'm really sucking on doing anything about it. I have a friend who's trying to introduce me to somebody in India to talk about some of that stuff, and I haven't got around to it.
That's incredible. You always blow my mind with some crazy stories.
There are whole other worlds and dimensions out there, and we can continue to treat this stuff as fantasy, or we can start to develop a way to study it, a way to go further with it. And I think a lot of these guys like Rick Strassman, are really heroes, these pioneers of psychedelic research, who are going to end up curing a lot of people with PTSD and other issues, with probably a combination of MDMA and various psychedelics. But the one thing, and I know I said this when we talked about this before, is that the Bufo is, it is like the cross to the vampire of depression. That's all I can say. Is
the what?
It's like, I've never experienced anything else that has just not just cleared my depression, but made me feel like I don't have to accept that. I'm okay. Okay, all of this sucks. Okay, that is a heavy weight, and there's no point. There's no point in wallowing that. There's no point in spiraling into that. Okay, so I've had times in the world where like ATM cards have been eaten inside machines, and I'm somewhere where nobody speaks English, and I can't get a hold of my bank, and I have I've got to live. This last year I had to live for, a week in a foreign country on, less than $70. And I just decided to treat it as an interesting experiment, and I was able to figure out a way to keep paying for a hotel room, so I didn't have to sleep in the park. But it was an interest. I was like, let's just. But there are times when all this stuff, even now, like I got a lot of stuff piling up, but like I get a little pissed off about it. But I'm not. I would have let this suck me down into a spiral. And there's something about the Bufo that gives you the ability to do that, or it's given me the ability to do that. And
What's the Bufo, Luke?
It's the toad. It's the 5-MeO.
Oh.
And it's something about that, like that state of non-being, or that non-duality, where there is nothing but you, and you're nothing. It's so interesting. But when you come back from that, I feel like I have just slept for a year while I was being like massaged while I slept. It's just like I come back, I'm so relaxed. I have such an appreciation for how there's no beauty without flaw. And all these things, everything is so petty. All of our problems, all of our issues, all of our little me issues, it's all so petty, and it doesn't really mean anything. And all this stuff is safe, and you just go out there and live your life and until it ends. I don't know. That's just where I'm getting to, and it's a much better place than I've been.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the chances to like think about this and actually put it into words, because sometimes it just sits in you, and it's not until you actually express it somehow that You can
Yeah,
build
it's
on it.
it's a lot. It's a lot, and then those are questions that I have every day, especially looking into all this.
Yeah.
But see, but that's the thing. That's why I told you that you can't really comment on what I'm thinking about because you've had these mind-blowing experiences that, again, you've seen other things that you can't explain, and
It's just I wish I'd had these conversations with my dad because that was his greatest fear. He wasn't afraid of anything except like the death of the ego, like of the not existing, of not knowing that you ever existed.
yeah,
And like that, I was much more concerned with dying. Like I don't want to burn to death or, be eaten alive or, you know what I mean? It's like I was less concerned about death and more concerned about, how it happened. Whereas he was just really concerned about that, nothingness. And I've come to see nothingness as a beautiful release. If that's all it is, think about that. Like there are no cares. You are not going to feel anything. You're going to be just fine not being. It's not a traumatic experience to not be.
it's not. But
I'm kind of looking forward to it.
it's like all these religions and all these things, they are just intended. And like you said, live your life, all this stuff. A lot of these religions are just focused on the now, to prepare for that.
But that's all we have is the now. So, just we got to do everything in the now because that's all we ever have.
Did I ever
Right.
read to you that Alan Watts quote?
No, but I'm pretty sure I know it.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
About being in the now,
And the eternal now,
the
yeah.
eternal now.
Because there is no.
And that's one of the things these, the plant medicines, the sacred medicines connect you to that. And it really also encourages you to think about your environment in different ways that you would never have before. And I became, aware that plants really are. I mean, we know that they physically feel stuff. We've been able to
Yes.
prove that. But like plants really are conscious, but it's a different kind of consciousness. And then I've had all kinds of theories because of what plants show me in the ayahuasca sessions. I'm like, did they think they're still talking to the humans of like 1500 years ago? Because they're showing me like these symbols and the stuff that like would have made sense to Mesoamerican cultures, but why are they showing that to a guy from California? They're not pulling stuff from within me to show me. They're showing me stuff that they understand or comes from their, you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking, I don't think plants experience time the same way we do. I think plants have an agenda. And I know it might be as simple as what Terence McKenna used to say that plants, invented humans to move seeds around. And maybe we're just an out of control plant experiment.
Well,
But yeah.
look at fungi.
Yeah.
That's an incredible.
And there's so much
incredible
because we've
thing.
learned that plants communicate with each other through
Mm-hmm.
fungi.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really interesting thing. And look at all the things that fungus is doing now that we weren't aware. Like fungus can eat plastic. There is a type of fungus
Dude,
growing.
it's absorbing radiation. in
Yeah, I was
fucking
about to, at Chernobyl. There's fungus growing on the walls there. It's eating radiation. I mean, like I hate mushrooms. Like I was forced at school. Like mushrooms make me. I don't think I'm technically allergic, but like if I smell or eat mushrooms, I vomit.
About psilocybin.
Like I have to break it up like on the top of like a glass of water and swallow it so I don't have to taste or chew it and then I can keep it down. But like I went to a school in the UK where they're very strict. You had to eat everything that was put on your plate. This is like 7 years old and you would get punished like severely punished. Like you lived at the school. It was brutal. And like mushroom soup day was like the worst day because I would sit there for 6 hours and with that bowl of cold soup in front of me and not eat it and then take like a week's worth of punishment for it. So it was the experience of hating the mushroom and then having it like really rubbed into to my face. So I'm not a fan of mushrooms, but I'm a big fan of what mushrooms can do for us. I mean, there may be more that they're able to do as well as help our brains and help us get rid of this fucking plastic, which we don't know how to get rid of.
Yeah.
And the radiation, which we don't know how to get rid of.
That is.
And I was telling somebody the other day, you think about like these worldwide level events where something occurs, and in the past we've had them, and we've come back from them. But what happens this time when there is like an entire world of Fukushimas, as our ability to look after nuclear reactors breaks down, and all of them all over the world. What chance are the great grandchildren of the initial survivors going to have? But something else will rise that enjoys the radiation. Maybe it'll be Mushroom Planet for a while, and then
Well, they're talking about making bases on the moon out of mushrooms. Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
Sounds interesting.
They're looking into that, dude. The mushroom, the spores of a mushroom, of fungi, can survive in outer space. They travel.
They probably seeded the planet.
Yes, they probably did, and they're intelligent. They're intelligent, dude.
I think all plants are. It's a fungus, but yeah, I think they are. Absolutely.
And you see it even growing psilocybin. You inject it, and you see it take over the media. It's like a network, it colonizes everything. It just takes over.
Well, look, it got a little foothold in the 60s, and the establishment tried to crush it, and here we are, 50 years later, and like they can't control. Like there was a war on drugs, and let me announce now, if you don't know, drugs won. I'd like to congratulate drugs on a well-fought game, because they're still here. All of them. We've spent trillions. They're still here. So, and now finally,
it's sold by the CIA, dude.
The good drugs, the natural stuff is finally starting to find its application in science and medicine, where it should have been all along. So sometimes we're just slow to get there. And
I don't think it's going to make it far, though, because if psilocybin can treat depression and treat it and cure it after 6 months doing I don't know how many doses, that's gonna put a hole in the pharmaceuticals.
Well,
pocket.
we're gonna have to take them down anyway. I think we get rid of the insurance companies as the first step, and then we can move on from there. And if they don't murder Bernie, we might actually get there.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Jeez.
We'll see. Like that guy's got balls of steel, honestly.
That guy needs to retire is what he needs to do. I mean, I don't vote, and I don't really pay attention to politics, because I feel, again, it's ruled by the reptilians, and they've made it to they've rigged it so much. They can't just have one position, because obviously we live in a democracy, quote unquote, but they've rigged it so much that it's down to two parties.
It's completely rigged. The system.
You know what I mean?
But you know what? The initial system that's underlying it, we can get to where we need to. We forget that, I don't unless they really are reptiles, unless they're going to come out with their fucking laser gun. There's more of us than there are of them. Right? I mean, honestly, we the people, we forget all the time, and there's going to be enough, or a certain amount of us who buy the normal routine, but there's enough of us now, and just the difference in the amount of people between 2016 and now who are pointing out all the bullshit that they didn't point out that existed in 2016 and was in full flow, but nobody was saying anything about it. 4 years later, even mainstream media are forced to talk about it, and all the time. So I think that's actually a really positive step, and Trump may end up actually being really positive for exposing the boils that we can lance. I mean, we got to have some kind of hope, or there's no real point. But I would be careful, Juan, just giving these reptilian overlords too much power in your mind, because I don't think that leads to a good place. Like, no, for your mental health.
It doesn't, and that's the problem, Luke. That they feed off. Like I've learned, and I did an episode with a Stoic philosopher, and in Stoicism, it's pretty much finding a way to not let things that you can't control, so things out of your control, not dictate you, right? And the problem with society that we're in now is, like, we're always so worried about things that we can't control, right? And I'm one to do it because I do it all the time. I'll start complaining about something, either work or something that I can't control. But again, like you said, that mentality, if you let it rule over you, then yeah, we'll push you into there. And you know, if it's true that they are reptilians, whatever, uh, they they feed off of that energy, and that's what that's what David Icke always talks about, how they, love conquers all, and just because there's always it feels like there's always something going on in the world. There's not ever like a time of that there's nothing happening. At first there was the Iran or the Syria thing, World War III. If it wasn't World War III, it was the impeachment. If it wasn't the impeachment, now it's the coronavirus. It's always something. And it's only the beginning of the year, dude. It's only March. It's about to be March.
Well, it was coronavirus. Now it's 5G, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, and then you got people like my buddy who, 5G is good for you. It's like, no, it's not, dude. Aren't they doing a recall for the iPhones, the new iPhones, because they're giving off, 2 times, or I don't know how many times.
Yeah. Apparently, pretty much all the wireless shit is bad for us. So.
Like, aren't we at an all-time high of people getting cancer in their hands and stuff like that?
But I mean, like even like radio frequencies, like the radios we listen to. Apparently, these aren't like healthy frequencies.
They tell you not to stand in front of your fucking microwave because it's bad for you.
Yeah, I remember. I read a Jerzy Kosinski book a long time. I've read most of his books, but one book I read of his, and I always meant to check and see if this was true, but he kills somebody in one of his books by having him stand in front of an airplane, and he goes into the cockpit and turns the radar on.
What?
And like he focuses, like, the radar beam is like focused forward or something, and like the radar like gives this guy like terrible cancer, like that focused radar, and then the guy ends up dying like later.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, look at we talked about Chernobyl. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah. The guys who worked there died early. They had cancer.
Oh yeah. No, I'm more worried about Fukushima now, because like Chernobyl, we know what's going on. Like the facts are out. They fucked up initially, but it's on land, which is a big bonus, and like they have been making real efforts. Like the Japanese, I blame quite wholeheartedly.
Is it still leaking into the oceans?
Oh yeah. Not only that, but they're planning on dumping like more all the time. They're like, yeah, we can just dump this in the. Oh yeah, TEPCO is one of the worst fucking. I call them ineptco. And the thing is, the Japanese, and not to just crap on another culture without good reason, but like this whole losing face thing has really damaged the planet in Fukushima, because like for the first 24 hours there's a window where international teams could have helped them come in and contain that, and they didn't want any help because they were,
but it's like China,
loss
dude.
Of face.
They didn't want to come out and say, hey, we fucked up.
Yeah.
And now they're just trying to deal with it, and it's getting out of their hands.
And when you release this kind of radiation into water, this is one of the things we found out like after World War II, when we started bombing like Bikini Atoll and all, and bombing like naval old
Godzilla
old naval fleets, like the old remnants of or wrecks. That and again, we didn't understand. We thought we knew, but the ships that survived the blast, we sent guys in denim outfits with like brushes, and soap and stuff to scrub the ships to use them again. Like we had no idea about gamma rays, and that it couldn't be detected that time. All those people died. But also, when that stuff is released into water, it's much more damaging, because that stays in the water, and then it goes into the air and comes back into. It's not like we can dissipate. It dissipates, but it's much worse, and it's much more concentrated for longer periods of time. And Fukushima is it's an absolute fucking disaster. Like they don't know how to get rid of any of that stuff, and they've just got all these vats of this highly radioactive, contaminated, all this barium, strontium, cesium, and all this shit, and they're just dumping it. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna dump it, it'll be fine. Fuck.
It's so fucked up, right? And then we want to go to other planets to do what?
Yeah, that's why I understand like the theory that people are like, no, the aliens are there to stop us from like getting to another fucking planet.
Yeah,
like I could see that. Like we're ants like invading someone's kitchen. We're a pest. Did you ever see there's a really great animated movie, 1973, it's French, called Fantastic Planet, La Planète Sauvage. and it's a really cool psychedelic. It's a really cool animated movie about these giant blue beings who live on this planet, and humans are pests. We're little. We can either be pets or pests, and they sometimes kill us as pests, and sometimes they keep us as pets. And then they have these learning devices, for their kids that are like headsets they put on to learn. And one of the humans that's a pet starts listening with its owner to the headset and starts learning and goes back to the little human colony and tries to wake people up.
I'll have to
It's a
check
good
that
movie.
out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's some
Yeah.
really cool psychedelic scenes in it.
I
There's this
just
one where
finished-
like the four adults get together to meditate, and their bodies like become kind of globular and intertwine in this really psychedelic sequence. It's very cool.
I just finished watching Parasite, that Korean movie.
I haven't watched that, but I'm interested. I kind of want to see that.
Yeah, dude, you should check it out. It's fucking. It was really good, man.
I really liked the idea, like the concept behind Species. Do you remember that movie? It wasn't very good.
With the alien stuff.
Yeah. Basically, what the story was, because we sent in the '70s with NASA, we sent off, whatever satellite it was into the distance, beaming out this message. Hey, we got 2 arms, we got 2 legs, we got blood, we breathe oxygen, we eat camels, whatever it says on there. Right?
Yeah.
And the point of that movie is like you basically just sent like everything about us and like what could kill us or make us healthy or whatever. Like anybody who studies that go, okay, yeah, so a little bit of cyanide. And so that's the premise of that movie, is that like this alien race goes, oh wow, look at these nasty little monkeys. And so they come up with how do we get rid of them? Oh, let's make the creature that looks like a really hot woman that they'll breed with. It'll wipe out the whole race. And I thought, it's perfect. That's absolutely. This is like, let's not like communicate with anybody till we got our shit together. How about that? It's like dating. Like, if you're a hot mess, maybe just work on yourself a little bit before you date. It's gonna save you that nasty divorce later.
Yeah, I just I don't know if you've seen it, Love Is Blind on Netflix.
I haven't watched it, no.
Yeah, it's
I'm really
it's
weird.
interesting.
Like a lot of things just don't hold my interest. I think they would, and then just I don't know. Getting harder
Yeah.
to please. Did you watch that documentary I was telling you about? Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds.
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
watched it before our other the episode. I think before the last episode we did.
I love that. If I had made that, because it's amateur and it's so beautiful, and like the thought behind it and everything that went into it is just so beautiful. It's it's flawed in a lot of ways, and I just love it. I think I'd be so proud if I had made that. I would be so proud.
Well, I mean, what's your status on your documentary?
Oh, it's coming. I'm giving myself till the end of this year to finish collecting interviews and video, and things are coalescing into form and shape, and every day it gets a little clearer. And then after this trip to Egypt in October, it's time to just actually lay it all down and then see what I can do with it once it's done. And these videos that I make, because I didn't go to school for this and I didn't learn how to be a filmmaker, and I just sort of, I play a couple instruments. I did the same thing. I just taught myself how to play. I hate like this super structured. I like to learn. I like to just jump into something and learn, and that means I learn how to do things wrong, and I pick up bad habits, and I educate myself. And I could have avoided all that stuff, but that's just more me. It's just more how I feel comfortable doing it. And so that's what I did with this, and I've learned a lot. So I make these videos, and that helps me a lot with my technique. And then as I'm putting it together and with like working narration, it helps me with like, oh, this is really how I need to start structuring it more like this. And it's, so I just, I started watching some Werner Herzog discussions on how to make a documentary. It was like, oh fuck, I've been doing it completely wrong. So it was good. He's like, he gets called in to help people all the time, and he's like, oh, that's the worst things. This one, I like get and he's like, I have 200 hours of footage, and I'm like, fuck. Because that's what you don't want to look through 200 hours of shit for somebody to
Yeah.
like work out. You want to go in with your vision of how it is and get that and come back and put it together. And he's absolutely right. And that's not how, this ancient culture stuff has worked out for me at all. Because I don't know what I'm going to find when I get there. I'm really limited on the equipment I can use, and then learning how to use, the equipment and like the software and everything. It's been a fun ride.
That's awesome, dude.
Frustrating at times for sure, but fun.
Yeah, I've been thinking about starting the book I've been wanting to write. Been thinking about that lately, but
Yeah, you should do that.
yeah. And yeah, so many ideas, man. But dude, you always manage to blow my mind with some crazy fucking story that you tell me.
This is one of the things that we didn't discuss last time that I wanted to mention, because I started to mention it, I think, in the first one when we started getting into plants and what plants can show you. I've worked mostly with two different shamans. And the first shaman I really worked with, this guy called Don Howard at Spirit Quest in Peru. And they used to call him Otorongo Blanco, the white jaguar. And he's a really interesting guy. And he had a lot of, obviously, history. And he was more of a Huachimero, but he also had a lot of experience with ayahuasca. And I was talking to him about these very specific, things. And, if a plant shows you something, can you believe it? Because like I'm being shown stuff that I want to believe. And he said, yes, you really can, but not always. He said, you really have to look into like what you're asking about for a start and figure out how much of your ego is involved in the question. Because he said the plants will lie to you to test your ego. And he told me a story about that. And I was like, wow. So I really started thinking about, how much I'm influencing, and my desires, which I think about now all the time in terms of everything. And then I was working with another shaman who I still work with, Weira, who was actually Dennis McKenna's shaman for a long time. And he's a mestizo shaman. He's just unbelievable, this guy. And I asked him the same thing. And he said, yeah, but you have to be careful because sometimes it will test you. It will lie to you, to test you. And he goes, that the magic isn't just good. Like the medicine isn't just good. It's how you use it. It's like kind of like magic. There's white magic, is black magic. If you use it for evil, you can do bad things with it. If you use it for good, you can do good things with it. And he told me a story, and his story was about being in session. He was doing a dieta with ayahuasca, and the ayahuasca was telling him in his vision, it was like telling him, you are one of the greatest shamans that has ever been. And he's like, wow, okay. And he says, no, the plants were telling him, no, you really are the greatest shaman. And he said, yes, but what about my master who's taught me all of these things? He's like so far and away, his understanding and his learning. And the plant said, yes, but he has accomplished much in this lifetime, but you have been a shaman for many lifetimes. And it was like laying this thing on him, and he realized that it was testing him, and he had to reject this thing. But how many shamans get to that point and believe that? Suck it in. I'm the greatest. Come to my thing. I'll cure. I'll do whatever. I'll do this. And I've heard some terrible stories from people who are far more connected and have been far deeper in the Amazon ayahuasca world than I'll ever be. Who've just told me terrifying stories. Because there's ayahuasqueros and curanderos and vegetalismos, and these guys usually work with the light medicine. And then you've got the brujos, and people are like, oh, that's not real. And it fucking is real. It is absolutely fucking real.
The occult is very real, and I've always said that. That's why I don't fuck with it.
There was one of the stories I heard that was very interesting, because I haven't actually seen anything like this. But Don Howard told us a story of somebody who came to Spirit Quest at one of their retreats. And she was a really nice lady. She was in her 50s. Everybody liked her. And they started the first session and they drank, and about 30 minutes, 40 minutes into it, she started laughing, and which isn't entirely unusual. Sometimes people get the giggles and it happens. And then like the laughing got louder and louder, and it became really harsh, and people started moving away from her, and she began putting out heat. Like she was apparently temperature rose as you got closer to her. And Don Robert, one of the older shamans, stood up immediately and came over, and they had to take her out. And there was I met another guy who was there, who was actually in Egypt with me. He was the guy who gave, anyway, whatever. That is an old story. He watched them remove an orange ball, a glowing orange ball from inside her, and get rid of it. Now, I've never seen anything like that, but I've heard Graham Hancock told me a story of sitting at a place in somewhere in Iquitos, drinking ayahuasca and watching a guy watching the shaman who didn't like somebody flick darts of light into the person until they left. So
What the fuck?
there's stuff like that. And the shamans there, they do this, that you'll hear it a lot if you watch something on YouTube. There's a sound that's like kind of sound that the shamans make a lot, and very often it's like clearing energy and spirits, and something they perceive something negative, And I watched this one girl at our retreat who was super super talky, and anyway, I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, she went over to talk to Don Howard one day, and he was like, and she got up and left, and I was like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, yeah. So there's weird stuff that goes on there. I've experienced some stuff that I just could not explain, that has affected other people's lives who weren't there with me. And in fact, it gave me really great hope. Like, it was almost like a false encouragement. I thought I was going to be able to go into ayahuasca sessions at any point and do things for other people. And when I went back to do that, I got my ass really kicked.
Yeah, that's you were gonna say that guy from Egypt is the one that gave you the DMT.
Yeah. And it's funny because he was the one who told me about that place. He's like, look, if you're going to do it, this is the place. And there was somebody else on that trip who'd been there as well. And I was looking at the Temple of the Way of Light, which is a Shipibo place. And that it's a little more rustic, and I probably would have gone there. But I ended up going to Spirit Quest instead.
Yeah, it's I believe in all that, man. I believe in the occult, and I believe it shouldn't be fucked with. And
I think you need to be really careful. And I think everything from like in Egypt, whether you're looking at like the Book of the Gates, and they talk about because these are the gates that open, and you're not in the next world, you're in like the realms between. And
that's the thing on your video, right?
Entities that are in there. And,
in your video, the Karnak.
And they talk about they describe these entities quite deeply. I mean, they talk about how bad some of them smell. It's a really interesting thing to think that you're just making up stories about these other dimensions and evil creatures that smell bad.
What? Like, yeah, that symbol that's all over those places there, and then the we talked about this before, that they just say no, they were just role playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's so that symbolizes a gateway. I had one. No, it doesn't. I'm like, oh, okay. And it's quite clear. You can even on Wikipedia, if you look at it, but if you look it up, that's what those symbols are. If you read, the Book of the Gates, that's what that symbol is. And there's usually a double for whatever reason. They may be showing both sides of the door in one thing. I don't know. I don't know enough, but people argue and they say, well, it is LARPing, if you want to call it that. It's this ritual procession that they would do. And I'm like, yeah, but we're talking about the 23rd or 26th dynasty, or even the 30th dynasty. And, do they know what they're doing? Or have they made up rituals to try to interact and explain what this great mystery that they've inherited is? To me, things make more a lot more sense when you let them shake out and fall into place that way, rather than like when we look at it the way they present it to us. It's like, well, yeah, but what about this? What about that? And, well, how come we don't know about this? And there's no good explanation for any of it. And you can have poor explanations for some of it, not for everything. And to be clear, I'm not talking about like the middle and late kingdoms. I'm talking really about what we consider the old kingdom, and specifically like the third and fourth dynasty that did the stuff that we can't really explain. And I don't think it's third and fourth dynasty. People are like, stop saying that. And I'm like, well, I have to identify it as something, but that's what was left over from before. And that's, why we struggle to identify it. But if you look at those gateways that are in that building, by the way, they don't even know exactly where that temple was constructed. They believe that those two obelisks of Hatshepsut's, supposedly Hatshepsut's, but all we really know about those is they have her name written on them. Okay, so maybe they're older than Hatshepsut, but anyway,
they were known for that. They were known for marking.
They do that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And Hatshepsut in her temple, they have pictures of boats going up and down the Nile, really large boats actually, that have columns and obelisks on them. And even in the Causeway of Winesis Pyramid, which is 5th dynasty, there are pictures of boats with columns on, and that's way before her. So, it goes to show it might even have been back again, because those are the once solid single piece blocks. So those might have been, there's a theory that those were outside those temples too. And I think I talked to you in the other, and I just laughed because there was that list of weird patents that I was telling you about, I think last time or the before, and it was this guy's patent for personal teleporter, and you need these large granite obelisks with the electrum or whatever on the top, and they had to be placed on either side of this gateway. And I read that, and then like I go back through the Book of the Gates as I'm going through my Karnak footage, and I'm just laughing because like this is pretty much what that guy has described in his patent.
I was actually thinking about that.
And this is like in like the inner sanctum of the gateway temple, the temple that they have supposedly built to be a simulation of these interdimensional gates. But when you look at the doors in that construction, they're clearly from that magical 4th dynasty or whenever that was actually done. They're so massive and megalithic, and the machining on it and the way that they fit in, that's the builders. That's the master builders. That's not this other shit around here with the LARPing. You LARPers weren't building this shit.
You guys were using it.
So, and that's what I have to get into with the Egyptologists. Well, you're saying, and I actually did it on purpose. I said something about the sperm coming out of the star because, that's not actually a sperm, and we've heard all the stories, and I know it gets, I'm a little bit of a shit stirrer sometimes. I just like to put something in like that. So I mentioned that, and oh my God, did I get some comments about, and this is what you need to learn about Egyptology. And I'm like, yeah, but Egyptology is a guessing game. It's not actually a science. It's let's make up a story based up on things that we find. If there's anything that's inconvenient or doesn't fit, we hide it or we just don't fucking talk about it. And
you find
that's
one
what
statue of one guy, and it's was
and
built
he's
by
the
him.
guy. It's like I told you, Abu Rawash, they found what looks like actually a boat pit, which probably wasn't a boat pit, but was reused as a boat pit. The boat's gone. It got reused again. They threw some statues in it. Now the guy whose statue is in there is the guy who built the pyramid. The guy who has more statues in there built the pyramid. And the guy who has one statue in there did a repair to it. Now forget the fact that was only like 40, 50 years later. Why would you need to repair the new fucking pyramid? Which half the Egyptologists say was never completed. They can't make their minds up. They don't know about anything, really. So while I respect they went to school and they learned about hieroglyphs and they memorized the myth of Osiris and, the pharaoh list as we know it, I don't really care what they have to say. And that's why, because I believe it's all an interpretation of something they didn't understand. Do I think it's beautiful? Do I think it's amazing? Do I love being there? Yes. Do I think I know what the fuck they were talking about? Not really. I think on some level they did. I think some of them did. I think there's knowledge that's hidden in plain sight, and it was being passed on. I mean, we never talked about the cult of Amun. That was the most powerful cult in Egypt for a long time. Do you remember I told you about like the stages of the 5 stages?
Can you talk about that?
And yes, so the 5th stage, because the first stage is like the beginning, and the second stage is like the stage of like growing awareness.
Can you talk about who they were?
And I don't. Yes, let me get there. I'll get there in a second. And the third stage was like the peak, when everything was possible and the greatest things were done. And then the fourth stage is the decline, and the fifth stage is the Dark Age. And the name of the Dark Age, it's the time of Amun. And what Amun actually means is hidden. And this is the god of like the hidden mysteries. And we are still now in the time of Amun. And this is the time when everything is hidden from us. And Amun, or Amen, or Amen, is where we get the word in Latin, Amen, comes from Amun. And when you are saying your prayers, and you say Amen at the end, you are not saying what we think it means, which is so let it be. What you are saying is so let it be hidden. These are the teachings of Hakim, who was an indigenous wisdom keeper. That's what, and the cult of Amun is still around. This is the most powerful cult in Egypt that consolidated all its knowledge and withheld the knowledge and ruled. The pharaoh, in many circumstances, was almost a puppet. And that's why Akhenaten was so completely destroyed, and why you don't find his effigy. And everything about him was destroyed, because he took Egypt away from supporting or believing in many gods, the chief of which was Amun, to worshiping only the Aten, which is one aspect of the sun god. But I believe he was trying to do that because he was trying to recreate the golden age. He was trying to take us back to when they could do the amazing things. I think that's how he figured out it would work. But in doing that, he pissed off the cult of Amun, and I'm sure they engineered his downfall. He was probably murdered. We don't really know. We do know that Tutankhamun, his name was Tutankhaten, after the Aten, not after Amun. So the reason that Nefertiti, the wife of Akhenaten, and their son Tutankhamun survived was because they agreed to destroy everything Akhenaten had built and to go back, return to the old capital and return to the worship of Amun and the many gods. And that's why you'll see Akhenaten is scratched off of most stuff down in Armana, but they leave Nefertiti in some places and some of Akhenaten's kids. But all of them changed their, Meritaten, all of them that were named after Aten had to change their names to Amun. It was part of the cult of Amun won. And, that's what they did. So they were in control of these vast repositories of knowledge. So did they store that all somewhere? Did they have control of that all somewhere? When things were later spiraling out of control, did they make an effort? There are people who believe that the cult of Amun morphed into the Vatican, morphed into the Catholic Church. That's why the the story of Horus and Osiris and all this stuff is sort of emulated in all the Christian beliefs, and that underneath the Vatican is where you will find a lot of the repositories of the Egyptian wisdom. Like, I don't know if that's true, but that's a theory that's going on around there. But I had a couple of experiences in that 2015, and I remember I had this day where I was talking to Yusuf about all the 4 different ages, and we just come back from, it was the end of the Hancock tour, and they hadn't taken us to Abu Sir and Abu Jarab, and they were like, everybody, let's go to the the market, and then we're going to go to the this and the that. And I'm like, what is this shit? I'm like, does anybody want to go to a real site? So I called Yusuf, and I got like 6 people, and we got a permission, and we went down and saw Abu Sir and Abu Jarab. And then on the way back, I was like, Yusuf, tell them about the 5 ages and Amun and so let it be hidden. So he's telling everybody in the car about this, and so I asked him. I was like, so these guys, Hawass and whatever, are they? He said, look, I think the cult of Amun is still around. He's like, I don't know about Hawass. If he is, he's mid-level. He's not anywhere near the top. But he's like, yeah, I think the cult of Amun is probably still around, and working behind the scenes. It would make sense to why everything's so difficult. And I was thinking about that, and then I was talking to Graham later that night, and he was talking about an ayahuasca experience he'd had, where he was like, he asked Mother Ayahuasca, like he was 1 cup in, and he goes, why is Hawass such, he might have said asshole, but he, such a difficulty to me. And Mother Ayahuasca was like, you need to drink another cup. So he drank a second cup, and it told him that, Hawass was a tool of the demiurge. He's just the guy who's doing what he's told to maintain, the status quo so that everything, keeps going the way it's been going. And that's his job. And you know what? Look, if there are really incredible, this is going to blow your mind. If there are really incredible things underneath the plateau, underneath the Sphinx, if they were small enough, they're gone. I'll tell you, like they've been removed. But if they're too big, maybe, maybe that stuff really is still, some of that stuff is still under there. Maybe the reason they're fucking hiding it from us is because we would fuck it up. Like we would fuck the whole world up worse than it is even now. Do I believe we have the right to ancient knowledge? Yes. Do I believe that if that ancient knowledge existed and was truly revolutionary, that like we could potentially abuse that? Yeah, maybe.
For a fact, bro.
Maybe Hawass is actually a good guy just wearing a fat Batman suit under his Indiana Jones costume. I've never met anyone, let alone another Egyptian, that wears like a full denim bodysuit out in the sun and an Indiana Jones hat.
I'm telling you, bro.
When people ask like, well, who do you believe? I'm like, well, the first thing is any of the experts, if they're wearing like an outfit, like they're going on fucking safari or something, or they've just come out of the kaftan, like I'm immediately like, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, but you're right. There's probably some shit that we don't see, but then if it's so powerful how you're saying, what's stopping them from using it? But then again, that's funny though.
I don't know. They're just theories I allow. Yeah, I just allow myself to entertain these ideas because for a long time I just sort of dismissed. We know there's cavities under there. We know this. Look, there's an entrance on the left side of the Sphinx, right? That we all know about because there's still a small hole there. There's one on the very top of the Sphinx that we know about because there's video of fucking Hawass climbing down inside it. Whether he denies it exists or
it's gone now, right?
There is something over it. I don't know whether it's fully sealed. They sealed the one on the head, which I think was just a hole I think the hole on the head was to fix something like a headrest or like a headpiece for the head. Because the head is actually in its current state. It's not big enough to have, like you see pictures and there's like 4 rooms in there and like you could have a banquet in this. No, it's not big enough, man. There's no way. But the body, yeah. And so the one on the top, it's in a position where they've pretty much made sure there's no platform there that you can look down on the center of the back from a good enough position to really see it. But it's there. I know because I've seen the video of Hawass climbing down inside it. And depending on what mood he's in, he either lies and says it doesn't exist or he says it's a tunnel that was made by Tomb Raiders and doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, but I've seen that though.
There's not only that one. There's one on the Sphinx's badonkadonk just to the left of the base of the tail. It's sealed now. They've filled it in. But there was a hole there. I've seen pictures that were taken maybe the 2030s, World War II. And there's a hole there that I could walk into probably without having to bend over too much. So that leads into an internal cavity that is maybe connected to, the hole that on the left side that we've seen Hawass stuffing himself into and out of, even though he says that doesn't go anywhere. So there's obviously multiple spaces in there, whether they connect at some point or whatever else. And I'm sure they go down because the Sphinx is all bedrock. Once you get in 6 feet, it's all bedrock. So that's just another access way into underneath the Giza Plateau, which is an absolute fucking catacomb. It's aquifers, it's tunnels, man-made, natural, all of it. It's all under there. So yeah, there could be anything under there. The only way for them to really prove there's nothing under there is to let us in.
How do you feel about the supposed scans that they had that there's something big underneath there, possibly a spaceship of some sort or something like that? I
haven't seen anything that would indicate like a spaceship. I mean, what is it detecting? Metal of some kind? I don't know.
No, supposedly there's like this weird shape underneath the Sphinx that they found, and it looks like it's in the shape of a spaceship. I don't know.
I'd like to see that. Like, if you find that link, send it to me. I mean,
yeah, I'll look for it. But they did something that I think might have been on Ancient Aliens. It's not if it's on.
Ancient Aliens is a really good show for showing you crazy places around the world that you didn't know about. But my problem with that show is that
Paid opposition.
they lie to you. They will
Mhm.
tell you stuff that they know isn't true because it's interesting and fascinating and it keeps everything afloat. And I just, I talk about fantastic stuff. I talk about the possibilities of what may be, but I try to be very, very careful to not mislead anybody as to what I actually think might be going on. Like I have no interest in trying to convince somebody, that aliens did or didn't or, whatever. I just, and I think they're really disingenuous that way. They will, and I've watched them do stuff to experts or people, authors, whatever that they interview, like Hancock, and they will take everything he uses and like cut the sentence off, like right before he explains why it's not extraterrestrial. But they'll take everything up to that point.
Yeah.
So they're as bad as the Egyptologists on the other side. So
Yeah, there's just something about,
it's
alien
Fox
Nazis.
News and MSNBC of Egyptology is pretty
There's
much what's
something
going
about
on.
alien
can decide
Nazis that just
which.
sells.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
Nazis sell, aliens sell, alien Nazis got to sell.
Yeah, it's like that meme where it shows I think it's like the DMT guy, and it's like, the first stage, and the second stage, and the third stage. I'm gonna make a meme of that. I'm gonna make a meme of this.
Yeah, when I was in Indonesia, a friend of mine and I, she said something funny. I can't remember what it was now, and it like started the party Jesus memes. We were gonna start like party Jesus memes. But I'm sure somebody's already on it.
Yeah. Damn, dude. There's just so much stuff. But yeah, it's like you said, if there's nothing, why not just let people? Because you're not allowed to go underneath the Sphinx, right?
No. It's actually quite expensive just to go in the enclosure. It's one of the special permissions we don't
Really?
usually do because it's a really expensive permission.
Just to be next
And
to it?
yeah, and it's 2 hours in that enclosure. Once you've been in there for 20 minutes, I mean, it's cool to hang out, don't get me wrong, but like there's not that much to see. It's not like being inside the Great Pyramid or inside the Assyrian or inside, one of these other places where like there's lots to explore. It's that one area. And it's still cool, don't get me wrong, but it's a really expensive permission for what it is.
Yeah. Damn it, Luke. I gotta get out there, man. I gotta get out there and
It's
I
really worth it. I mean, all of these places are great to see, but Egypt is just
I'm
so
not gonna go
fascinating.
anywhere right now because of this whole coronavirus
Oh,
bullshit
right.
going around.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because I'm supposed to travel in May, and I'm just sort of like, am I traveling in May? I don't know. I haven't booked tickets yet. I'm just.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna start prepping tomorrow. I'm gonna buy non-perishables. I'm not trying to be a doomsday prepper, but you just don't know.
It's never a bad idea. I mean, I live in California, so it's always good to have something because we could have the big one any minute. So it's always good to have food and water no matter what. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all this stuff like just we don't really realize how close we are to the breakdown of society and how quickly it happens. A lot of us don't really think about it, and it really doesn't take long, before people are fighting over, while looting their local supermarket and killing each other and breaking into people's houses and trying to take, A friend of mine the other day said, he said, Luke, the only thing I'm grateful for is that we probably won't live to see the water wars, but our kids will.
The
I was
what?
like, the water wars. We're just fighting over drinking water. I was, you think about that. Fuck, if we keep going the way we're going, yeah, that's another 40, 50 years. There probably will be wars over that.
Yeah. No, I agree. We're one of the good things. I mean, living in Florida, I don't know. I got a bunch of guns, so
Right.
I stockpiled a bunch of ammo over the years. So if shit does hit the fan,
Yeah, I don't own a guy. I've actually, I shot like a shotgun, like skeet shooting when I was like 14 one time. Apart from that, I've never even. I was at Tanis in 2016 in Egypt, and when you go out of Cairo and it's just a couple, well, even with its tour group, it's the tourist ministry insists that you have security. So usually it's like a guy in a suit with a semi-automatic Glock like under his jacket that you don't even really see. But like in this occasion, we had a police escort. It was like 6 guys in a pickup truck with AK-47s.
To leave Cairo?
Well, to leave Cairo and go to Tanis, which is like a 3 or 4 hour drive
Mm.
up north into the desert. And like a lot of times they're not. It's not that they're protecting you. Sometimes even from, you know, local Egyptians who might hate Americans. Like everybody there's really friendly to me. Like I've never, I've had people try to, rip me off, selling me, crap. But like, I feel safe. I feel much safer in Cairo wandering around than I feel, in random areas of Los Angeles walking around. But one of the things that you can face sometimes at sites is actually people looting the sites, and they're armed. And there's people on the sites also who are armed, who are there to prevent those looters. And there are occasionally firefights
Oh,
at these
shit.
places. So here I am. Come on my tour, by the way. No, it's really, Egypt is like so much safer than like half of America. Anyway, so yeah, these guys had AK-47s, and we had sirens and everything. Like we never had to stop at a light. I felt like a diplomat or something. It was
Yeah,
crazy.
they're probably. I mean, not to call any attention. I mean, just call attention to you. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and and Tanis is a pretty cool site, but they hadn't been out there either. These guys, so they came with us and they were checking everything out. And oh, what's this? And they were having a really good time. It was almost like a school outing where it's like a work outing. They're at work, but they get to go somewhere cool and not have to deal with any shit.
Yeah.
And so they had a really good day. And then at the end of the day, I was like, let's take a picture with the security team. And so we got a picture, and they were like, here, you have to hold the AK-47s. And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. I want to hold your AK-47. And they were sad. Like I think Ben held one, but like I didn't in the end. Like I was like, no, I don't really. I played with them all the time as a kid, and I wanted to be James Bond and all that stuff. And at some point, like I was like, man, I don't even want to hold one of those fucking things.
Yeah, and you definitely have to have a different mindset. It's not the fucking wild wild west out here, but I've had my concealed carry since I freaking as soon as I turned 21. I've had it ever since, and I've
Is it
owned guns.
is it fear? What is I'm not I don't I'm really curious because I've never felt like I'm gonna go out, I need a gun. What has happened to you, or that what have you absorbed that you're like, I need to have a concealed weapon?
Well, the main reason, my business. I used to carry a lot of cash on me, and obviously,
Sounds
if it
mysterious.
if it's no, it's just cash with impounded vehicles, things like
Yeah.
that. I do transportation,
Were
and
you, were
when it's
you a
some
repo man, Juan?
yeah, and I still
You mad man.
yeah, and I still do a little bit of that. Not
Hey,
as
you got to give us a repo story because I know you got one.
no, it's dude. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's not like how you see in the movies. It's not how you see in the movies. 9 times out of 10, they know you're coming. They
Right.
just give it up, dude. I've never really had anything crazy happen.
Because
Uh,
we only hear the stories like in Texas, like the guy shoots the repo guy and gets away with
well,
it.
we've had guns pulled on us for sure.
Oh.
But the thing is that when you call the cops are like, "Listen, man. I mean, it's fair game." And I mean, I specialize more I did specialize more in repoing the big rigs, and there's a lot less resistance there. Usually, you just hook it up as soon as you get there, and then the guy would come out and just get his stuff out, and it'd be cool because they knew you were coming.
Right.
But I've had people. I used to work for the airport. I had the contract for the airport. I've had people drive off the back of the truck,
Wow.
like in the shows. That there at the airport, since it's tourists and stuff like that, it got a little bit hectic, but nothing too crazy. But
No,
yeah,
and people just lose it, but that's like somewhere, like that's not going to end well. Like in no
no,
situation does that end well
no,
for you.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't, especially at the airport. Like they're always on your side. So,
Wow.
one of the main things was that. So and then I have, when people would come get their cars, the private property tows those people would get nasty sometimes. But again, it's like, you know the rules. You illegally parked. You had expired tag, whatever. You'd have people who were angry come with that, and then the other aspect of, I live in Florida. You know, we've had a lot of mass shootings,
Yeah.
and the real monsters, Luke, the real monsters, you know, speaking of other dimensions, stuff like that, and seeing whatever you want to call it, the real monsters are us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nowadays, you know,
Absolutely.
kids can't even go to school without the fear of dying. And it's a double-edged sword. And I'm not like this crazy passionate guy, you know, with the Second Amendment. I own my guns. I believe in responsible ownership. I don't believe that I do believe we need reform.
You know, I just want to say this because I never hear this on TV. Because people talk about, how now kids can't go to school without fear of dying. But like, inner city kids had to deal with that, like in the poor fucking districts, had to deal with that in the 60s, 70s, 80s in a really bad way. And I think it's only now that like it's happening on like affluent college universities and white fucking high schools in Colorado. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And I conceal carry every single day. And I conceal carry everywhere I go, unless it's a federal. If I'm going downtown,
Right.
gonna go into a federal building, which you can't. But I conceal carry everywhere I go. And for example, this morning, the area that I live in isn't. I worked night shift last night, so I went to go pump gas at friggin' 4 in the morning because I was waiting for some of my drivers to head to the shop, and I was in the drive-through to McDonald's. I was getting some breakfast. And dude, just some shots rang out, you know, boom, 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 boom. And I was on the phone, and the person on the phone with me was like, "What the hell was that?" I was like, "Somebody got lit up."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The area that I'm in, it's not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. And it's like, you know, you just don't ever know. And it's not only for me. Like, it's not like I'm gonna play hero if something ever happens. I've never had to pull my gun. No, I'm lying. I pulled my gun one time, but it wasn't on a person. It was on a dog. It was like I think it was like a pit bull or something. And I was out fishing. I was fishing this pond, and I think there was like this dog loose or something. I was with my buddy, and this mean looking, mean sounding dog, bro, was running towards us, and I pulled my gun, and the dog didn't do anything to us, but I'm not gonna get mauled by a fucking dog. You know, I'll shoot it in the face. I don't care.
Yeah.
But that's the only time I've ever had to really pull my gun. I've never, you know, I don't road rage because again, you have to have this different mentality uh, when you have this sort of thing. Because I'm in Florida, I have a
Yeah.
gun. The other guy probably has a gun too. And if he's a hothead, if I instigated it and he's coming towards me with a gun, what am I supposed to do? I instigated the situation, so I'm gonna pull mine because he's coming at me with his. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have to make sure you know and keep it cool. I don't pick fights with anybody. You know, I won't
But
let
you
anybody
you also
disrespect.
know that there's a lot of people out
Yeah.
there that you would not trust to have a gun.
That's
That
what I was
have that
getting
gun
at.
that you cannot trust to make that
E-
same decision.
Exactly. So I again, that's why I believe we do need some sort of reform. But the thing about the gun issue, the Second Amendment issue, is that you have it's an insurance policy for the people of this country. Because look at Venezuela, look at Japan, look at China right now. You know, the government is pulling you out. You know, during martial law, what rights do you have as a citizen? Uh,
Well, I think the problem really with that is, I mean, honestly, the reason I started becoming interested in a gun is just because of the breakdown of society and what happens. I mean, I
mm-hmm.
have, in Katrina, my stepdad's friend was stuck there and had his supplies stolen at gunpoint by a police officer.
Really?
And then had he and like 25 other people, yeah, and he and like 25 other people commandeered, got together and rented like a coach to come down from Ohio or somewhere to get him out, and that was commandeered as well. Like, so they
Really?
no, they couldn't get out. But the thing that, yeah, it was being robbed, by police officers of their water and food.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I'm saying. If
That's the kind of thing. But if it comes down to like martial law, even having an automatic rifle, like they have drones and jet airplanes and tanks and artillery, and Second Amendment is not going to do shit for us if
I understand
if our army's
that,
coming.
but you're not pulling me out of my house forcibly, to do, because like the main thing right now, as I said, let's say that this Wuhan thing is real. What if they suspect you? Let's say they're going on a witch hunt. Oh, you're sick, dude. You have to go to these concentration camps being set up by FEMA, or by whoever.
That decision ends up in you dead because you can't kill them all, and they
No,
will.
that's the thing. You're gonna
you,
go down
so.
no matter what. Yeah, but I'm not going down without a fight.
I hear you.
You know what I mean? I'm not going out without a fight. I'm not gonna open the door and be like, yeah, just take me. I'm not sick, but you're gonna put me in a place that's full of sick people. You know what I mean? I'm gonna end up dying anyways. So you're not pulling me out of my house. You're not gonna come knock on my door and be like, hey, I have bill of sales for all my guns.
Yeah, no,
all my guns as of right now are sold.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I have like 15 different guns. All my guns right now are sold as of right now. So if they come in the, hey, we need your guns. Well, here's my bill of sale. They're all, they can't prove it. Oh, we're gonna come in. The fuck you are. You know what I mean? Like, because look at Japan. The people over there, they had to succumb to the government. The government was ruling them. I mean, they couldn't. Let's protest. You can protest all the fuck you want. You know what I mean? You can protest all you want, but at the end of the day, the government is going to rule you. The government in Venezuela is living like a king, and the people are starving to death. And
the thing is, I'm all for rights. And liberties. I think those are, the most important things. And I don't necessarily believe, I think it's too late as well to take everybody's guns away, really.
No. For every one gun that the government has, there's
it's so rare that I see, when the gun, the person owning the gun, not a policeman. You
live in California.
Ends up,
it's a little bit different.
I do, but you know what? I lived in LA during the riots. I was actually shot at in the riots because we were stupid enough to drive down in South Central and see what was going on because we were like 19. But even now, I was just telling somebody about that recently because I didn't even realize what was going on. There was this popping sound. It looked like this guy was waving his hand out of a car window, and the people in my car were like, "Fucking drive! He's shooting at us!" And I'm like, "What?" I didn't really know what was going on. He was, a half block away. And, this isn't TV.
Mm-hmm.
But even recollecting that and thinking back, there isn't any point where I thought about, I wish I had a gun so I could shoot back. I just don't have a gun.
My thing is, if I have a gun, I'm running and hiding. And I'm using my gun if they come to. I'm not gonna go. It's not like the movies, dude. You miss all the fucking time. It's not John Wick where he hits every single time. No, you miss. I go to the range. Yeah. You miss all the time.
Oh, handguns are really. It seems like it's very hard to actually be accurate outside of 15 feet or something.
All the fucking time. You miss all the time. And I've competed too. I've competed in shooting competitions and yeah, dude, it's super hard. I mean, people. Oh yeah, dude, I would pull my gun out, and shoot anybody who come towards me. No, the fuck you won't, dude. Things happen so quickly, and I mean, again, I'm in Florida. We have stand your ground, but then there's things behind that. But again, it's just don't put yourself in that position where you're gonna have to go through all of that. You know what I mean? Don't instigate. Don't pick a fight. Yo, you're looking at me wrong. What's up? Don't do that. You know what I mean? Just stay in your lane. Somebody cuts you off, let them cut you off. It's fine, dude. Just slow down or whatever. But you have people who always want to. Again, the reptilians are feeding off of this energy, and that's what they want. They want us to fight. But that's just my insurance policy, dude, with me and my family. If anything ever happens,
I'm too old to road rage anymore. I'm like, all right, go ahead. Just don't crash into me.
But yeah, dude, I'm not super passionate about the Second Amendment. I do
I don't
practice
get
my
to
right.
talk to people. I mean, I had when I lived in the Bay Area in my 20s, I had a housemate. He had a couple guns. I never saw him. I know he
Yeah,
had them.
they're locked up in the safe. I have my
But,
daily carry, and that's it. It's always in a holster. I lock it up every day, and I have a son, I have a little kid. Uh, I lock it up every day. You won't ever see it. They're more. I have some exotic guns too. I have 5.7. I have a Chris Vector. Guns that when I go to the I have suppressors that when I go to a shooting range, everybody's like, dude, can I see that? Because it's like, man, that's fucking badass. I have some weird fucking guns. Uh, Obviously I have a shotgun and stuff like that. AR-10, AR-15 style. Um, you know, bolt action, 308. Have a bunch of pistols. Uh, just it's a collection. I mean, it's a collection. I mean,
it is a collection.
That's one thing I don't sell guns. You don't ever sell your guns because of some and especially nowadays, like what's going on now, dude. I have a buddy of mine who has a collection. It's worth at least 100 grand, and
Wow.
I'm talking military grade stuff that I was like, bro, his safe is the size of
That's when
like,
you need like the Anne Frank bookcase.
yeah.
Secret
Well, I
room in
mean,
the
my
back.
friend has guns that it's $5 a round to
Man,
shoot it. So when he takes it out to the range, it's $5 a round, and he's got cases of ammo. It's like, oh, there's 150 rounds there of 50 cal. It's like, what, dude? It's $5 a piece. It's like, damn, man. But again, it's I don't know. Like I was telling somebody the other day, I think I was telling my dad. I was like, man, I'm not saying God or whoever is coming, but I feel like there's something that's something that's gonna happen soon that
you
is
know,
gonna rock.
I totally understand that feeling, but I also have a feeling every generation thinks that.
Mm-hmm. God has been coming since I was like 7 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's always the same. Oh, God is coming. We're living in times. Next year, God is coming. We're living in times.
You're gonna find out pretty soon, Juan, that you're already here,
That's
and all of this is just you.
yeah. And again, that's why I've been contemplating about this. And I told somebody that I said, what if there's nothing else out there?
I think,
Once we
we
die.
might just be, this entire universe may just be one being learning how to be a god.
Well, I mean, that fit again. That's already been written, dude. You have the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, the Nephilim, the fallen angels. That's what it is, That's why we had the flood. That's why they had Noah, because God got pissed off that the Watchers were tampering with his experiment. You know what I mean?
I'm just, I'm not sure that these entities that are talked about that claim to be gods are gods. Hello, religious people. Yes, you will not like me. But yeah, that's,
dude,
I just don't,
I
I don't,
went off the rails on an episode before
because
this one.
God's not going to come down here, with a list of rules. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think the basic tenets of a lot of these religions, their laws are great. The whole, they're great rules.
Yes. Yeah, to what? To govern a society, to have order.
To live
Moses
together.
came up with the 10 Commandments because he was gonna have, he was gonna rule people. He was gonna rule over people, have a society, and they needed.
Yeah, and if you're doing what God said, it's going to be a whole lot less arguing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like maybe he was having a DMT trip off that acacia bush that was burning, and he's like, dude, he was known to know the Egyptians. He was very well known in the Egyptian as a scribe, and he knew the Egyptian laws and everything, and the 42 laws of Ma are some of the 10 Commandments. You know what I mean? And it just so happens to be he saw. Maybe he wasn't partying the Red Sea. Maybe he was fucking having a psychedelic trip, and people were like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? It's like he's got his hands up, and they're like, cross. Motherfucker, you're not doing anything.
Right?
Dude, I went off the rails on this other episode that I did the other day with a friend of mine, and I don't have rules when it comes to episodes, but I try to stay away from. I try to stray away from the crazy conspiracies with religion. And he said some shit, and I went ahead and talked about it on the episode. I didn't want to, but uh, you know, my research has led me to God and the devil are the same thing. You know what I mean? Uh, that's what my research has led me to. As they
Wow.
say, you have these two archetypes always in history throughout all these cultures that somehow are battling each other, but they're brothers. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Uh, good and evil, but then they're related some way. How they say it takes a demon to kill a demon, it takes a dragon to slay a dragon. You know what I mean?
So yeah, a certain amount of it may be, spirit versus flesh.
Yeah,
So
whatever it is, dude. Whatever it is, and when we'll end on this note. Whatever it is, I don't know. And one thing I know for sure is that I don't know shit.
oh yeah. No, I know very little.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and again, it's like you said, people it offends people. It offends a lot of people, dude. And people have looked at me differently, and it's like, I was listening back to an older episode that I had done, and I was like telling the guy, I was like, yeah, I believe God created everything, and then I was listening to it, and I was like, saying to him, I was like, well, that's changed.
I'm
And so when they asked me,
happy.
they're like, they're like, dude, has it really impacted you all that much? And I was like, it's really impacted me all that much, dude. It really has.
People really need a support structure.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's not that I want to stand there and tell anybody like, their God is wrong, and I don't, or that another God is better, because I don't. But I think a lot comes down to like that pizza delivery meme, where it's like, you got religions that are essentially ordering the same pizza, and they're arguing about, who's the better delivery guy. And that's like, I mean, how many thousands of years, how many people have died over like who delivers the fucking pizza? Like, it's, I just don't understand. There's if and I think generally, most of the population within these, they feel, the similarity between us rather than the difference. But it's just abused. It's that, that section of people who understand that they can manipulate that to to cause something that benefits them and creates issues for other people. I mean, there are just some people, who want to watch the world burn.
Yes, the reptilians.
Yeah. Maybe, and maybe they are actually reptilians, or maybe they're just, spiritually reptilian in this lifetime due to unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
But who knows? This might be like V. Diana might eat a hamster in front of me, and someone might gouge the face off, and I see the reptile skin. Might happen.
I haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't either. V scared the hell out of me when I was a kid. The original one in the 80s. It's a crazy show. The aliens. I don't know if you ever saw it, but the aliens show up, and they're us. They're humans, and they've come from another planet, and they just need something from us, and they're going to share all this technology with us, but they're just wearing human skin suits, and they're fucking reptiles, and they're going to take us away and eat us and suck up all our Earth's resources.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great, man. It develops in like, the one evil chick, she eats a hamster, and like her mouth opens like 8 inches, down, and like, oh my God, when I was a kid, I was like, fucking terrified me. It's hilarious.
Fucking hell. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Sorry, I don't mean to make fun of the reptilian thing.
No, I don't. Dude, I don't believe it. I just say it. I like to.
Well, who knows? I mean, I can't get into David Icke, but maybe he's right about something. I don't know.
Well, he's out there, dude. He was talking about how he's a god and stuff like that, and
Well, he is. Just probably not the kind.
I think we're all gods, and
Yeah, we are God. We just, we're here.
just not, dude. Speaking of gods, there is a. So speaking of the coronavirus, we touched on that.
Yeah.
There is a cult in North Korea, and it's an underground cult. And I thought it was funny because I have a friend of mine who lives in Vietnam, and I've been talking to him, and I'm like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing to with this whole Wuhan?" And he's like, "Dude, I'm not even thinking about it." I'm like, "All right." And he told me some stuff the other day. He was sending some articles, and he said that the article he sent me was that North Korea has a crazy outbreak of the Wuhan virus, and they're spreading it. But in particular, there's this cult that they have 150,000 followers. The guy who runs it thinks he's the second coming of Jesus Christ, and he's only going to save 144,000 people. And so these people, so that they get saved, they still have to go to communion and have to get together with them. So even if you're sick or not, you still have to go. So everybody's getting each other sick, and they're just spreading it more and more and more. And again, since it's underground, the government doesn't know about it. And it's like they're spreading it because they want to be saved.
Wow, that's a crazy story.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, right? And
Wow.
and it's like during the Dark Ages, people took religion so literal, and it was like ruling people's lives. And there's a dangerous aspect. The only thing that separates a cult with a religion is the time that it's been established. That's the only difference. And
Right.
even at that, you have Scientology. It's not even that old. It's not even 100 years old. We literally we knew who invented
Scientology is hilarious.
Scientology's demonic.
I think it's my favorite religion because it's just so fucking hilarious.
It's funny as fuck. I agree. It's very, very.
And that they get intelligent people to buy into that shit is just stunning.
Yeah,
like I can understand growing up in a Catholic family, a Hindu family, an Islamic family, whatever. A Jewish family, and then like it's part of your culture. And you grow up, and I understand that. But like to just become an adult and buy into something created by a guy who wrote like some of the worst fucking books imaginable.
Oh yeah, the person who's written the most fiction ever.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, dude.
I find all those documentaries about exposing Scientology like weirdly fascinating, though.
It's real, but what people don't know is that it's a religion with demonic. He was. Ron Hubbard was fucking with John Parsons and Aleister Crowley and all that stuff, and he was an occultist, trying to summon the Babylon, the whore of Babylon, doing sex ritual magic.
Wow.
Yeah, you look into that. Look into the Babylon holding ritual with L. Ron Hubbard and John Parsons. And John Parsons is the father of modern day propulsion, which is in NASA right now. Just how NASA was founded by the Nazis with Project Paperclip after World War II. Yeah. And the Nazis put us on the moon. Von Braun was a fucking Nazi. You know what I mean?
I'm familiar.
Yeah. A lot of people don't talk about that shit. NASA, Nazis, same thing. It's like, what do you guys want to name it? Well, we're the Nazis. Like, we can't fucking name it that, dude. Well, let's name it something. I like the N. Let's keep it. Yeah. Well,
man. I remember when NASA used to be cool.
Yeah, but I don't trust NASA either, dude.
No, I don't either. Fuck. But it's a government agency. Shouldn't trust any government agency.
That's the problem. It's a government agency, and we can't trust any of them. Yeah. But Luke, dude, always.
All right, man.
Fucking fascinating conversations.
I don't even know what I'm doing anymore.
Today was cool, man. I mean, we were all over the place. We talked about megalithic sites, ancient civilizations, 5G, spirituality, Second Amendment, the reptilians.
Oh my God, the Second Amendment. Never thought I'd end up talking about that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was good, man. I mean, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed talking to you, bro. You got some shit. Hopefully, I can.
You know, I'm thinking it's a good idea to do these podcasts because I need to advertise my tour, and then I'm like, nobody's gonna want to go on tour with this psychedelic traveler. Other
Yeah, dude,
dimensions and shit. What's going on here? I think I'm gonna stay at home.
plug in your info so that people can, and I'll put it at the beginning too.
You can, sure. You can see my my website is enigmasoftheancient.world, and you can find links to my Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook page, etc. from there. But I also, I'm on Instagram, enigmas_of_the_ancient_world, and Enigmas of the Ancient World on Facebook. So, yeah, we have a tour in October of some of the hidden places of Egypt that are usually off limits, and we have special permission to go inside and explore all the chambers in the Great Pyramid, well, except the relieving chamber, and a whole bunch of other sites, the Assyrian, Abu Wash, Abu Jarab, Abu Sir, Elvantini Island, all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah,
The Osiris shaft and tomb.
the only thing holding me back right now is just the whole Wuhan stuff. I don't even
we'll
feel
have
like
to see how that. Believe me, like if everybody's dying, I'm not going to be like, get in the bus. Obviously that's taken into it. What also happens if you sign up with the tour and you cancel for whatever reason, then you lose your deposit. But if you sign up for the tour and you put your deposit down and we cancel the tour because of something like coronavirus, you get your deposit back. Like you don't lose money if we have to kill the tour because of something like that. But hopefully, for everybody's sake, they get a grip on this and life rolls on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, not even that. I mean, even if I could fly out to California and hang out with you for a day or something.
Yeah.
I can do a podcast over there and shit. That would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, I'll hit you up in a little bit. Gonna get something to eat.
Cool. Thanks, Juan.
And thanks for being on again.
I gotta my cats are like stalking me at the moment because it was dinner time for them about an hour and 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, I told my girlfriend it was gonna be quick. My fiance, I told her it was gonna be a quick episode. Now with Luke, we fucking go in deep, and we come out on the other side. Well, there you have it. Always gets weird when I have Luke on the show. I love the conversations that we have because it just goes off the rails. Such an interesting individual and somebody who I can call a friend now, and somebody who I talk to almost every day now. I love meeting new people like this, people with the same ideas and who like talking about the same things that I like talking about. So don't forget to follow us on social media. Don't forget to check out Luke's work, Enigmas of the Ancient World on YouTube. He makes videos of ancient sites, goes around the world, and he also does tours. Make sure to follow us on social media at the Juan Podcast. Also, you can shoot me an email if you want to be on the show, if you want to hear anything that we talk, if you want to hear us talking about anything, the Juan Podcast at gmail.com. And again, like always, watch for the episode next week, Mondays at 7 a.m. And as always, until next time.